Hi, my name is Helen. And yes, I am a woman. Welcome to my podcast, a podcast with scary stories I have written. But I have chosen to record it with an AI voice, and if you ever heard mine, you know why. Are you ready? I hope you locked your doors, checked under your bed, and turned the lights off. Because now it's time for frightful fiction. Do you dare to listen? Linda and Karen had been standing outside the hospital for what felt like hours, the gnawing anxiety growing with each unanswered call and text to William. Every second stretched into an eternity, and when they finally decided to walk to his office, the short 10-minute journey felt like an endless marathon. With each step, Linda's stomach churned, a sickening anxiety twisting inside her, threatening to spill over. The elevator ride up to William's office, usually unremarkable, now felt suffocating. The large elevator seemed to shrink, its walls closing in on them as it ascended. Linda's heart pounds in her chest, her legs trembling as she hurries out the moment the doors slide open. The office entrance is open, its darkened interior offering no comfort. The usual hum of activity is absent, leaving a heavy silence that presses down on her. Where is everyone? Linda wonders, a sense of dread tightening around her. Are we really going in? Karen's voice shakes as she grabs Linda's arm, trying to pull her back from the threshold. What if something happened? Maybe we should call someone, maybe the police, she said. Linda shakes her off, her voice strained but resolute. No, we can't call the police. What would we even say? Hi, my boyfriend hasn't answered his phone for 50 minutes, and his office door is open. Send the FBI because we think a demon did something. They'd think we're crazy. We have to go in and see if we can find him. There's a windowless storage room where cell coverage is terrible. He might be in there, going through his mom's things. Taking a deep breath, Linda steps into the reception area. William? Manny? Is anyone here? Jonna? Where are you? Linda called out, her voice echoing off the walls, but there is no answer. No one seems to be here, Karen said softly. I think we should go and try to reach him by phone. I sense a very dark energy here, she said. Linda doesn't respond. Her focus is solely on finding William. She moves quickly toward the back of the office, heading for the storage room where William might be. The staff room is unnervingly cold, the chill biting through her clothes. It feels unnatural, like stepping into a freezer, and a shiver runs down her spine. Then, she sees something. Blood, stark and shocking against the floor. Her breath catches in her throat as she scans the room, her heart racing faster with each passing second. At the far end, the window is shattered, but oddly, the glass is not inside the room. What happened here? Her eyes are drawn to something scrawled in the blood on the floor. She moves closer, her heart hammering in her chest as she makes out the words. Sorry, Frankie. The name trails off, the blood smeared as if someone has been dragged away. A fresh wave of nausea rolls over her, but she forces herself to stay focused. Linda's gaze drops to a note lying in a pool of blood. Without hesitation, she picks it up. This is evidence, she thinks. But if the police take it, they may never see it again. They need it. Whatever William's mother left behind is crucial. But where is William? The question echoes in her mind, frantic and insistent. He is injured. She has to find him. She looks around, searching for any sign of him. Suddenly, she feels a hand on her shoulder. Her heart leaps into her throat, and she spins around, half expecting to see something horrific. But it is just Karen, her face pale and stricken. Linda, we need to leave now. This is a crime scene, come on. Karen's voice is urgent as she tugs at Linda's arm, trying to pull her out of the office. Linda hesitates, torn between the need to find William and the cold reality of the blood-soaked room around her. But Karen is already dialing 911. Linda allows herself to be led out of the office. She clutches the note in her pocket, feeling the weight of its importance. Emmy slams her foot on the gas pedal, barely noticing the speedometer climbing, ignoring every traffic rule. Her knuckles turn white on the steering wheel, her mind fixated on getting to her older brother's office. Linda's call shattered her world. William is dead. He jumped out of a window at work, but not before something carved into his leg. He had written words in his own blood. Emmy knows what that means. The demon got to him, and William, smart as he is, must have realized that suicide was the only way out. But how? Did he piece it together himself, or did he find something about it in their mom's letter? The thought makes her grip the wheel even tighter. And one thing gnaws at her, a burning rage that flares with every heartbeat. Why did William and Linda separate? The rules were crystal clear: never split up, never be alone. Yet somehow, Linda had ignored the most fundamental instruction. Damn idiot, Emmy thinks, her vision blurring with the tears streaming down her cheeks. Are you sure I shouldn't take over and drive, so we actually make it there alive? Jonathan's voice is tense, his grip tight on the handle by the car door. Emmy snaps out of her thoughts, her anger flaring at the suggestion. What's wrong with my driving? It's damn effective. We must have shaved off like 10 minutes by now. Her frustration bubbles over, unfairly directed at Ronnie for living so far from the city. Jonathan's wide eyes and frequent gasps make it clear he is terrified, and Emmy can't blame him. She is driving like a bat out of hell, and if they crash now, it will all be for nothing. Realizing this, she eases off the gas pedal slightly. Thanks, Jonathan said, his voice calmer, with a hint of a relieved smile. The city skyline looms ahead. Emmy's focus sharpens, her destination clear. When they finally reach William's office building, Emmy barely takes the time to park. The car screeches to a stop in an illegal spot, and she flings the door open, sprinting toward the entrance. Her breath comes in ragged gasps as she sees Linda standing with Dennis and Ricky. Emmy doesn't hesitate. She storms up to Linda, her emotions spilling over. How could you be so fucking stupid? I told you not to split up. You were the first to believe this was all the work of a demon, so how could you possibly think splitting up was a good idea? Emmy's voice shakes with fury and grief as she grabs Linda by the shoulders. Tears well up in Linda's eyes as she tries to explain, her voice trembling. I'm sorry. I had a doctor's appointment, and William thought it was best if I went with my friend Karen, so he could pick up the note. Otherwise, it would take us too long if he came with me to the doctor's, and we didn't want to tell you why I was going to the doctor, and his colleagues were supposed to be at the office, so he convinced me, Linda said and looks down. A doctor's appointment? What the hell is so important that they'd risk everything? Emmy wonders. But his colleagues weren't there. And what kind of secret doctor's appointment was it, anyway? Emmy asked. The shock of Linda's response makes Emmy feel like the ground has shifted beneath her. Is Linda sick or something? It was just a regular checkup, because I'm pregnant. Linda's voice was barely a whisper as she brought her hand to her cheek, wiping away her tears. Emmy stares at her, the words not quite sinking in. Pregnant. Then she noticed something on Linda's finger. What the hell are you saying? Are you two expecting a child? And is that an engagement ring on your finger? Emmy's voice wavers, her anger momentarily giving way to disbelief. Yes, we're expecting a child. That's why I've been watching that series I recommended to you yesterday, the one about parenting. I've been feeling so unprepared for this, and I thought that if you also watched the series, maybe you and I could talk about it, and about parenting in general, and, yes, we are. Or no, we are not anymore, but we were engaged. We got engaged on our anniversary but wanted to wait to tell everyone until after the hike. But now he's dead, and I'm all alone. Linda's voice broke, and she collapsed to the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. Emmy stands frozen, the shock of Linda's words washing over her in waves. The anger that drove her is still there, but now it's mixed with a deep, aching sadness. Everything is falling apart. Linda is pregnant, engaged to William, and now he's gone. Seeing Linda break down, Emmy's heart softens. She squats down beside her, gently patting Linda on the back in a comforting rhythm. Dennis joins them, sitting down on the pavement, a quiet solidarity in his presence. You're not alone, Emmy said softly, her voice trembling but sincere. You have us, and I'm going to be the best aunt in the world to your child. And Dennis is going to be a super fun uncle. We can babysit anytime you want. And I'd love to watch that series with you. She forces a small, reassuring smile, and Dennis nods in agreement, his hand resting gently on Linda's shoulder. We'll be here for you. That's a given, Dennis adds. As they sit there, the world around them seems distant, but then reality intrudes. A police officer emerges from the building, discussing the case with a colleague. Emmy overhears them, their words sending a shiver down her spine. It's a classic suicide, the officer said. His dog was found murdered yesterday, and he wrote, "Sorry Frankie," that was the dog's name. His guilt simply ate him up. He was the one holding the dog when it broke free. He just couldn't handle carrying that guilt. The second officer, following behind, seems more skeptical. We still need to talk to his family. You have to admit it's strange that his skin is cut off at the leg, just like his mother's was, if I'm not mistaken, and all those other bodies over the years. Although it's been many years since we had a wave of these kinds of deaths, with damaged skin, it started again about a year ago and now it continues. Why? He said. Emmy feels a surge of disbelief once again. How can they be so blind? But then she realizes, they're the police. They can't fathom the reality of a demon. To them, the evidence only points to a tragic but understandable suicide. They need a conventional explanation, one that fits within their framework of understanding. But Emmy knows better. William's final words, "Sorry Frankie," means something else than what the police thinks. The word sorry is an apology, but not about the dog dying, but for leaving them all behind. The word Frankie means the demon hasn't changed form yet. If they can just stick together, they might still have a chance. For now, everyone is still themselves. Emmy is the first to arrive at their childhood home. She has been waiting impatiently for over an hour, her mind racing as she tries to piece everything together. The police had separated the group, insisting on individual questioning despite their protests. When Emmy finally emerged from the police station, no one else was there. She assumed the others were still being questioned and had driven straight to the house, texting everyone to come as soon as they were done. The doorbell rings, pulling her from her thoughts, and her phone vibrates at the same time. She glances at the screen. It's Dennis. She walks to the door. "Hey, lucky you, getting to go in first. They took me in last. We all had to sit in a room further inside the police station and wait while they called us in one by one, and they took me in last," Dennis said as he squeezed past Emmy into the house. They walk into the kitchen, and Dennis immediately grabs a glass of water, gulping it down before speaking again. "Do you know what Linda told us all when you were in with the police? That she found the letter Mom wrote. She took it from William's office before the police arrived. Apparently, you can't see much of what was written because it was so bloody, but from what she could make out, it said that Mom was going to try to trick the demon to kill it, and commit suicide if she failed. And it said that Mom was the one who broke into this house and scattered holy burnt salt here that provides protection against the demon, and a bit further down in the letter, it said something about long-lasting protection, but you couldn't see more than that. The letter was just too bloody." Dennis paused, looking thoughtful. "I think we're safe here. There's long-lasting protection in the house. You said that the demon, when in Frankie's form, couldn't get any closer than the property line. It was like he hit a wall, you said. It must be the salt," Dennis said. Emmy feels a flicker of hope. "Okay, that's great. Now we know that anyone who can enter this house is themselves. If the demon got hold of any of us on the way from the police station, we will know. If you can enter the house, then you're not the demon, end of story. But, seriously, if you were the last one in, where the hell is everyone else?" Dennis shrugs, just as the doorbell rings again. Emmy glances at her phone and sees Jonathan on the screen. Relief washes over her as she quickly heads to open the door. The moment she steps out onto the porch, Jonathan pulls her into a tight hug, and Emmy clings to him, not wanting to let go. "Where have you been?" Emmy asked, pulling back just enough to look at him. "I went for a walk, you could say," Jonathan replied, his tone light but his eyes serious. "They didn't want to talk to me at all. As soon as I entered the interrogation room, or whatever you'd call that room, they told me that since I didn't know William, they were satisfied with the information I gave yesterday when they came to us because of Frankie, so they let me go. I walked in this direction but got a little lost on the way, but now I'm here," Jonathan said. Emmy lingers in the hug, not wanting to let go, savoring the comfort it brings. But their moment is cut short when she notices Ricky walking up the porch steps. He stops, staring at them with a mix of confusion and anger. "What the hell are you two doing? Are you some kind of couple or what?" Ricky asked, his tone sharp. "Please, Ricky, not now," Emmy began, but she is interrupted by Jonathan. "Yes, we are a couple," Jonathan said firmly, his brows lowering in a protective stance. Emmy feels a wave of relief. She wasn't sure how to define their relationship, but now Jonathan made it clear, they are a couple. The realization brings a small comfort amid the chaos surrounding them. Ricky's glare darkens, and as he walks past the door, he deliberately bumps into Jonathan. "Real mature, Ricky," Emmy said. "You're one to talk, sleeping with me, knowing how I feel about you, only to find someone else to sleep with the next week. I didn't think you were such a slut." Ricky spat, his words dripping with bitterness. Jonathan steps toward him, his posture tense. Emmy sees the situation escalating and quickly moves to stand between them. Dennis, sensing the tension, does the same. "What are you doing?" We've got a fucking demon after us, our loved ones are dying, now is definitely not the time to fight, Emmy said, her voice firm and commanding. Ricky backs off, raising his hands in a mock surrender, but his eyes remain locked on Jonathan, his breathing heavy, and his jaw is clenched tightly. Emmy stands beside Jonathan, making it clear where her loyalties lay, silently telling Ricky that he'd have to accept their relationship. Dennis, who watches the exchange with wide eyes, suddenly blurts out, "I didn't know you and Ricky had slept together, but I figured you and Jonathan had." Everyone in the hallway turns to Dennis, giving him varying degrees of disapproving looks. Realizing his mistake, Dennis quickly adds, "Sorry, that might have been a bit insensitive, but come on, let's go sit in the living room and talk this through. We need to come up with a plan for what to do about the demon," he said. "Good idea," Emmy agreed, her voice softening. "Could you grab the black book I got from Ronnie? It's on the kitchen table." Dennis nods and heads to the kitchen, with Ricky following behind. Emmy and Jonathan stay in the hallway for a moment longer. Jonathan reaches out his uninjured hand, and Emmy takes it, drawing strength from his touch. As they walk toward the living room, a sense of unease settles over Emmy. Where's Linda? She wonders. If Dennis was the last one in for questioning, Linda should be here by now. A knot of worry tightens in her chest as she pulls out her phone and calls Linda, but the call goes straight to voicemail. Panic begins to rise in her throat. Something must have happened to her, Emmy thinks. Dennis sinks into the armchair, while Ricky sprawls across the center of the couch. That leaves Emmy and Jonathan with no choice but to sit on either side of him if they want to join him there. Emmy opts for the floor, and Jonathan settles down beside her. "The demon can't be any of us in this house because of the holy salt Mom spread," Emmy began. "So, as long as we stay here, we're safe until we come up with a plan. I'll read up more about the demon to see if there's anything we can do to kill it. As I mentioned earlier, Ronnie said it's best to kill the demon when it's taken on the form of someone close to us. We'll know if one of us is the demon because the affected person will start acting strangely. But we can't just go around killing each other at the first sign of odd behavior. And Sandra promised to call me if any more bodies with damaged skin turn up, which could also help us figure out if any of us has fallen victim to the demon," Emmy said. She had updated Sandra on the situation while she waited alone for the others. Although Sandra was skeptical, she was not dismissive, even though she is a cop. Emmy had inquired whether Peter could perform an exorcism, but he had explained that he was no longer a priest and that according to him, it was only Catholic priests, not other priests, who performed exorcisms. He also mentioned that an exorcism might not even be effective in this case. Emmy's thoughts are interrupted by the doorbell. The app on her phone shows that it's Linda. "Dennis, it's Linda. Could you open the door and grab my bag from the hallway? I forgot it," Emmy called out. "Sure," Dennis replied with a smirk. "Should I also fetch some fine cheese and champagne for you, princess, since I'm apparently your personal servant?" He shakes his head but heads to the door. Emmy chooses to ignore the comment. Now is not the time to provoke him. She reaches for the black book Dennis had left on the coffee table, the one with information about the demon. As Linda and Dennis enter the room, Dennis tosses Emmy's bag toward her. "Where have you been?" Emmy asked Linda. "I needed some time to myself," Linda replied, her lower lip quivering. Dennis guides her to the couch. "Okay, I understand, but we need to stick together from now on," Emmy said firmly. She glances down at the book and begins reading. "Holy burn salt is the only thing that repels the shapeshifter. To ensure long-term protection, it needs to be placed in soil or sand. On stone or wooden surfaces, you must regularly reapply salt, or the protection will fade quickly." Emmy freezes, looking around at Linda, Dennis, Ricky, and Jonathan. Any one of them could be the demon. There is no protection inside the house, only in the backyard, and not in the front because it has paving stones. Her phone vibrates in her pocket. Emmy closes the book, not wanting to alarm the others or reveal to the potential demon that she is aware of their lack of protection. She answers her phone and sees that it's Sandra. "Hi," Emmy said, keeping her tone vague so the group wouldn't realize Sandra is on the line. "Hi, Emmy. My colleagues at the station found another body. Luckily, it had a driver's license on it," Sandra said. Emmy stands up and heads toward the hallway. "Okay, tell me, which one of them is the demon?" Emmy whispered. Sandra takes a deep breath. "It's Linda.